Welcome to Unit 3. In this unit, you're going to need your printable worksheets. The first worksheet you will need is the Stitching Lines Practice Worksheet. You do not need to have your machine threaded to do the practice stitches for these worksheets. If you do not have your machine threaded, it is perfectly okay because stitching on the paper will leave holes. You don't need the thread and you'll be just wasting thread by stitching on paper. If you want to use your thread, absolutely you can use your thread, but you do not have to for this worksheet. I have my needle in the center needle position. I'm going to turn my stitch length down to 2.5, and I'm going to make sure that my stitch selector is on the straight stitch. I have my needle lined up so when it goes down, it goes directly into this black line. You want to stay on this black line and go as straight as possible. Make sure you get yourself nice and comfortable with your foot pedal underneath, and you're going to guide the fabric through with your hand. And you're going to crank your hand lever for that last stitch. The next one I'm going to show you, we're going to use your reverse lever at the beginning and end of your stitches. I want you to get in the habit of using your reverse lever. So I'm going to put my presser foot down with my needle centered on that black line. So remember, your presser foot lever is on the back side or in the center. You're going to sew 2 to 3 stitches, 1, 2. Then I'm going to hold down the reverse lever and I'm going to go backwards a couple of stitches, let it go, and then go forward again. By holding down the reverse lever, when you use thread, that is locking in those stitches so that it doesn't come unraveled. When you get to the end, you're going to go forward and then grab your reverse lever, push it down, go backwards a few stitches, and then forward again. Crank your hand wheel, bring that needle up. By holding your paper up to the light, you should see that the needle position went in to that black line on every stitch. If you were able to keep it on the line, you can skip ahead to the next step. If you did not keep it on the line, go ahead and do the next 3 lines. If you're still struggling, one thing that's great about these worksheets is you can always print out another one and you can keep working on them until you're satisfied that you're able to sew a straight line. If you were able to sew a straight line, we're going to move on to the wavy lines. Since I was able to keep mine on a straight line, I'm going to line my machine up now for the wavy lines. I've got my needle lined up with the black line. I've lowered my presser foot and I'm going to start sewing a few stitches and then reverse so that you get in the habit of doing reverse anytime you start and stop a stitch. Okay, now we can go forward and you're going to use your fingers to guide your paper so that you can follow this line. With this one, I wasn't on the line 100%. I did go off a bit right here, but then I was able to get myself back on the line. So we're going to go ahead and do this one more time. So I'm going to lower my presser foot, lining my needle up with that black line. If you find yourself going off of the line, try to slow yourself down a little bit and not go so fast. Now that I'm at the end, I'm going to press my reverse lever, go backwards a few stitches and forwards a few stitches. Crank the hand lever till the needle is in the upright position. Raise my presser foot, and for the most part I kept on the line. I did go off a little bit. I'm going to move forward for the sake of time, but if you find yourself going off, you can continue doing this worksheet until you can stay on. This one I would say is acceptable if you want to move forward, and for the most part you're on the line just off a hair. Otherwise everything else was on the line. This one I would say is pretty good.